Hello and welcome to everyone. Today we have a very special guest, MMA fighter from Canada. Anthony, go for it. Say a few words about yourself, put an introduction so we can continue. Go for it.
Yeah, so my name is Anthony Romero. I am undefeated professional lightweight in MMA, 7-0 Canadian fighter, and yeah, that's pretty much my background. I've done all different types of martial arts: taekwondo, karate, jiu-jitsu, wrestling. So I'm doing pretty well so far.
Amazing. When did you start training martial arts? I mean, you said you trained many martial arts, alright, but when did you start? As a kid, as a toddler, as high school?
Yeah, so I started training martial arts at the age of 5. I started with taekwondo, and I did a little bit of karate at the same time. And then I watched UFC fights, Anderson Silva versus Patrick Cote, and around that time, an MMA gym opened up in my hometown, and I went over there and I started training, and I competed in kickboxing for Team Canada. I went to the Pan American Championships for Jiu-Jitsu, and the World Championships for Jiu-Jitsu as well. So I've been competing around the world.
So you're both striker and grappler or dominantly striker?
Both. You got to be good everywhere in MMA, right?
Alright, why did people monitor you the genius?
They call me the genius because I've been known to be a smart fighter. I don't take a lot of damage. If it goes the distance, I'm usually controlling it. If not, I'm getting the knockout or the submission. So I'm always finding new ways to train and new ways to finish the fight.
So what does actually mean a smart fighter? Like the guy who thinks all the time during the fight, or
Being a smart fighter, I believe it's not just in the cage, but also outside the cage. I know a lot of fighters; they're always sparring, whether they're in camp or out of camp, and I think it's super important to preserve to preserve this. This is where everything comes from, right? You get this hurt, everything else doesn't work. So it's super important to take care of that. So always sparring in camp. Very rare outside of camp, doing other things to improve cardio, striking, hitting pads, jiu-jitsu. And then when I have to do my hard rounds, I do. But I'm always smart when I train.
who are your coaches?
My coaches, I have my wrestling coach, Chris Prickett, from Brock University, very knowledgeable in wrestling and very hybrid style for MMA. My striking coach is Lyndon Whitlock, and my jiu-jitsu coach is Roy McDonald from Parabellum MMA and Niagara Top Team.
Do you have favorite strikes and favorite submissions, or your typical all-round guy?
Favorite strikes. I guess we'll say my favorite strike is the jab. The jab is one of my favorite strikes because it's the most underrated strike. If you watch George St. Pierre, he won a lot of his fights with just the jab, and a lot of people forget about that. So I would say the jab is my favorite strike.
Yeah, Juan Adams also said that, and I was surprised when he talked to me. But now I get the point. Yeah, jab is great to keep the fighter in distance, so it absolutely makes sense. Can we discuss your first amateur fight, please?
Yeah, my first amateur fight was just a young kid. I was 18 years old. I felt on top of the world. I felt like I have a lot of knowledge. I've been doing martial arts my whole life. But when you get in there, it's different. It's a different environment, and you get humbled very easy. I had a tough opponent. He was a strong guy, and in my head, I felt like I was going to dominate the fight. Like it wasn't going to be a big issue. But he proved me wrong. He gave me a tough fight, and I won split decision. And I learned a lot from that fight. I'm very humbled ever since that fight, and always never underestimate your opponent for sure.
How did you feel mentally when you stepped into the cage for the first time?
I felt prepared. It was just it's tough to think like what's gonna happen. You don't really know what's gonna happen. Like yeah, you train and stuff like that, but when someone wants to actually hit you or knock you out or do something to hurt you, then they'll do it. But when you're in the gym, a lot of people they don't want to hurt you. They feel bad if they hurt you because they want you to excel in your career. So it's different. You can train as hard as you want, but you have that pressure when you go into the cage and everything. It's totally different.
Yeah. Can you pinpoint to your most difficult amateur matches?
My most difficult amateur match, I would say, probably my second amateur match. That was the one that I lost, my only fight that I've lost. It was difficult because I went against a wrestler, and at that time I wasn't really practicing wrestling with actual wrestlers. I just did jiu-jitsu and kickboxing. So when I went against an actual college wrestler, I learned a lot about that part of the sport, and it was a good fight. I almost got a submission in the second round, triangle choke, and he was a tough guy, and he got out of it. But I would say that was my toughest fight so far.
Can we please talk about your professional debut?
My professional debut, I felt ready. I was super excited. I had a lot of confidence going into that because of my amateur experience. I had about 10 amateur fights. And just going into that, I felt really, really prepared. I had really great training partners. I've been training wrestling, and yeah, like I was ready. I was close to home too, so I had a lot of my family friends that came to watch me. It was really really cool and a really great experience that fight.
Need to ask you specifically Taekwondo question. Since I'm a Taekwondo black belt, I'm interested in how much can you use Taekwondo in an MMA battle. But I mean, is it realistic to use or it's a bit harder? What do you think, as a Taekwondo experienced guy?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's some things that you can use with Taekwondo, like going in and out of strikes, finding your range. I believe some things like power for punches aren't there, and sometimes for kicks, like you learn how to throw the kick, but if you compare a Taekwondo kick to a Muay Thai kick, it's a little bit different. Taekwondo kicks more with the foot, and the Muay Thai kicks more with the shin. So there's difference in power there. I believe there's speed benefits in Taekwondo. Like I said, going in and out, throwing quick strikes, and just being light on your feet. It's a little bit different. So there's some things that Taekwondo has helped me with, and there's some things that you can't really use Taekwondo in MMA.
Yeah, about spinning techniques, that was my specific question. Is it realistic to use it or harder?
Yeah, spinning techniques are good. You just have to be comfortable with it, right? A lot of people throw it just to throw it with no purpose. But if you look at Edson Barboza when he threw that spinning heel kick and knocked his opponent out, like that was amazing. Like people didn't really expect that. Or George St. Pierre when he threw the spinning back kick to the body, he was very good at that. So there's very specific times when you should do it, but when people start to overdo it and they try to be fancy and forget about the basics, then that's when you start getting carried away.
Well, when it comes to Taekwondo fighters, yeah, I'd list Edson. I'd also list Kang Lee. He's an older fighter, a left-handed older fighter. He was a Taekwondo dude. Dennis Seaver was a Taekwondo fighter too, the German guy. Anderson
Yeah,
Silva
yeah.
has strong Taekwondo background, and Israel Adesanya has Taekwondo background. So that's basically the reason why I ask you that question. So technically, you can use some things, but you need to be, how to say, you need to be warned, right?
Yeah, oh, for sure. Like you can use some things, but that can't be the only thing that you know. You need to mix it, and that's why the sport's so creative. You have to mix jujitsu and wrestling and boxing with your taekwondo and all that. So it's definitely a good martial arts to start off with.
How did you submit Elia Harris? How did you submit him?
Uh, Yeah, that was a great fight. He took a lot out of me. Strong guy, but I believe my wrestling was dominant in that fight. And he started to gas out. He gave up his back, and I got the rear naked choke. I believe there was like 20 seconds left or something like that in the third round. So there's a lot of emotion around behind that because people know at that time they knew me as a guy that always went to decision, and I guess they view it as boring. Um, so I really had that pressure to get the finish in that fight, and I was happy that I did.
You mentioned now decisions and finishes. So, is fishing for the finish risky or not? I mean, you said you like to fight smart, which is fair. I mean, I interviewed many fighters who like to fight smart, who like to, you know, to open up the vulnerabilities and so on. But what do you think about that pressure of going to knock someone out? Or, I mean, you must make a balance between the crowd and between your comfort zone. So, can you please discuss that?
Yeah, it's a special thing that you have to that fighters should understand about putting on a show, which is important, but also thinking about your health as well. There's times one of my fights, I had a guy he jumped in short notice. I didn't really know too much about him, and he was a tough fighter, but for him he didn't really care. Like he just threw whatever. He got hit and he put his hands down. He was like, "Come on, come at me," and stuff like that. And he was getting hit and he didn't care. He just wanted to throw. He wanted to throw everything. But for me, it didn't make sense. I was winning the fight. Why would I risk uh, fighting stand up with him when I was winning, right? So there's times when you can make a performance, and there's times where you have to really be smart about what you're doing because you could just risk it all, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you defeat Joshua Rogers? How did you defeat him?
Yeah, that was the fight that I was talking about. I won by decision. Just a lot of fence work, a lot of takedowns in that fight. So mostly resting in that, especially not knowing a lot about him. I believe he had a different name when I was looking him up. I think it was Josh Hill or something like that. His name was, and then it ended up being Josh Rogers. So it was like two different people I was looking at. But I did what I could to win that fight, especially on short notice. And yeah, I'm thankful I got the win on that unanimous decision.
And what happened against Juan Roman?
That was a good fight. I'm happy about that one. I was dominating the stand up, and I threw a body kick, and I saw him start to put his elbow down, and I knew it must have hurt him, and I threw it again, and I dropped him. He never really told me what happened. I don't know if he had an injury there or if I hit the liver or something like that, but I knew I hit him hard, and I won by TKO.
Yeah, fantastic. About Jacob Miller fight, well, this is kind of more personal question. Is this the greatest win of your career? What do you think? I mean, it was Ohio, so
Yeah. I think that was a really great win. Um, there's a lot that went into that fight, like the title fight, my first professional title, fighting someone from his hometown. I had to drive about 6 hours to get there with my coaches, and yeah, I'm very happy with that. That's what I need to get to the next level. That's what I need to get to the UFC. Um, they're looking for finishes like that, and especially against someone like Jacob Miller. He's a tough guy. He's fought some really good guys, and yeah, so I'm very happy with that.
so which is how to ask you this? How does the path to Dana White's Contender Series look like? How do they pick fighters? How do they choose them anyway? I saw many Canadian guys, but I don't know how they pick fighters. Do you know something about that?
Yeah, I've been told that they look for people who are champions in their division, in their like the regional scene. I had a training partner that he was a champion in the regional scene as a professional, and he was the first Canadian in the Contender Series. So there's a lot of champions, former champions there, and I believe that's how they pick people with big records that have a lot of people following them. Um, they want to see who the next Conor McGregor is, the next George St. Pierre, the next Anderson Silva. They want someone special for sure.
Thank you. So, would you like to add something? Maybe we missed to say something. Would you like maybe to, I don't know, do you have some message? Would you like to would you like to greet someone?
Yeah, just everyone watching this. Thank you guys for your support. Thank you to my family, my manager, my team, my coaches, everyone that's followed me through the journey. I really appreciate it, and I can't wait for the next fight for me to perform for you guys again.
Thank you so much for this interview. I will post it tomorrow morning my time. I guess it's night time yours, but you can check it in the morning. I will send you link.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you so much, Anthony. Have a great day. I hope you'll fight soon. I hope this will end soon. Right.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Have a great day.